nursery portfolio to a kindergarten portfolio. So if any of you are interested in a 7th grade portfolio, no, sorry, it was 6th at that time. Come and take a look. ठीक है? क्या on नहीं है? It's a PowerPoint. Anyway, so you've been seen the environment. The environment is your third teacher. You've seen our environment. Lots of displays, lots of things up on the boards.
This one?
This is my daughter. I was biased. I put her up. It's the one I had on my laptop, so I just did that. Yes. She is cute, isn't she? Do you want me to take you through this? What do you want to do? You guys tell me. Be a part of your learning. Tell me what to do. You want to have a look? Okay. So this is her back 2008, 2009. Their project ended up being a restaurant that they created. This was their question. Can we make our own restaurant? This is what Anya thought. I would make chocolate cake, cupcakes with sprinkles, but we need to have some healthy food too. We can have watermelon, apples, and everything at the restaurant. This is a time when they were learning about what healthy foods were and what to eat and what not to eat. A little bit about, we do food and nutrition from nursery onwards. This is a little bit, I don't want to read it because it's quite long, but they went to an actual cafe. They made pizzas over there. They were the servers, the maitre d's at that restaurant. They loved the role playing. They learned how to set tables. They went around with napkins and doilies to put. You'll see that in a little bit. So they started. It all started off with what they were saying this morning: role playing. You saw the kitchen scene. We had set that kitchen scene up in there. That's them. And that's how they decided that they were going to eat every day. They set the table themselves and they sat and they... This was their, what the teacher had come up with, the mind map. Can we mix art with food? Why are these foods important to our bodies? It doesn't... language and literacy. They did this. Mind you, please remember that these children were 3 at this time. Yeah, just move it, 3.5 actually. So, hygiene, but there was a lot of talking going on. So apparently my daughter only goes to McDonald's and Pizza Hut because of the names she knows. But they also talked about, I went with my mama, my daddy and Danny, and my sister Elena. I said I wanted chocolate after I was done having my French fries. I don't like pizza, so I didn't eat it. These are just literally verbatim. What they say is what we write. We don't change a comma, we don't change any word, even if it's not proper English, we really don't change it. I don't know. So this is corn and rice and chicken. Is jelly good food? Questions that she was asking. This is what we give to the parents at the end of the term. So this is the representation. She says this is water, this is the oats in my bowl. This is how you make a pancake. It goes up and down. And bananas and strawberries. This is her making chocolate because it's brown clay, she says. This is the teacher working. And you see, there are copies and pencils, contrary to what people believe at TNS. We do actually work as well. Again, representations, role playing. This is the reading corner. So at this point, reading starts with, at this level, reading starts with just pretend reading, where they have to just understand that text has a meaning. And this is what they were doing, reading. Their objectives were simple, reading from left to right, knowing that there are various forms of text, so on and so forth. This is them in our kitchen with our chef. I think this day they made, she wanted to make chicken nuggets, but I don't think she did. Yeah, so they made lots of different, parents actually gave them recipes and they made them every other day. This was them making strawberry milkshake. As you can see, we also have interactive whiteboards in all our classrooms. Those are the interactive whiteboards. They are really an important and really helpful resource to have in a classroom. Children are fascinated by going up to that and writing on it directly and then printing whatever it is that they've written. So these were some of the names that they came up with, and this is how they started early writing. This is them deciding what the name of the restaurant is going to be. This was a strand that they had to do in terms of data handling. It was one of their objectives, and this is how that manifested. Over here, again, this is them playing the food pyramid, which my daughter to this day insists is the food pyramid. I don't know why. I can't change that. This is them at the restaurant. This is them making their placemats. A lot of writing involved in this. They were making backdrops, cutting lemons. You know, when we talk about this age, there's the fine motor plus the gross motor. We actually allowed them to cut their own cucumbers, and this is what they were doing. And now you'll see that we will go into the Jolly Phonics. This is what we're telling them that they did in January, February. This is what they did in March, April. So you see that those strands are being met. And oral communication, listening, speaking. The ORT books, I'm sure all of you are familiar with those, the big books. This is what they did at that time. These are the questions that the teachers asked, and these are all in your ORT training. So none of, you can just go into your books and find the questions there. This is her pretending to read. This is at the end. As you can see, it's May. We do not let the children write. In the beginning of the term, we just do pre-writing skills, and by May, they are just writing and tracing. And then name recognition, they're doing maths here, shapes. So I'm just going to go through this real quick. What is really important, guys, if you are asking me what you can do in your skills, set up these listening stations. It's very important for children to record their own voices or listen to correct pronunciation. So they sit there, and this also involves ICT. So all the children at TNS know how to work a mouse, how to turn on a computer, some of them know how to hit control, enter, just to get things started, because we let them manipulate the resources. And this is them setting the tables. Okay, so there's this, and do you want to see I knew you did. This is very easy at the early years. What happens later? Sir, can I ask for your assistance again? So you'll see that it's just a tad bit different, not very. How many of you are early years here? None?
None.
Oh, you're early years. Yes, okay.
Where to go?
जो पहले से जो पीछे था, and Sahar's portfolio. Yes. And again her PowerPoint. This is Sahar. She is now in grade 7. I'll show you a little bit of her work. She was 10 at that time, and this was their project. How can India and Pakistan solve their differences? This project took 45 days for completion. It was a rather small one. And you can see in the back they've put up all their work. This is some of her thoughts. And they did come up, to answer it, they did come up with several options. And constantly, it's unfortunate, but the children are exposed to these kind of things so much that as you grow older, this becomes really an important part of their psyche, how to resolve these differences. And we actually encourage them to read in grade 7 right now. Every morning starts off with reading of the newspaper. And it's not random reading of the newspaper. They just can't go to the style section. They are told that today please find something on women's rights, or find something on labor unions, or there's a specific topic that we give to them every day. This was their final discussion. And let me just start off by telling you this ended up with they went to the radio station, and they were live on the radio, and they gave their presentation on radio. No, there is religion. Islamiyat is part of the curriculum. It's mandatory, except for expats and people who do not practice the faith, because we do have a lot of other students who are not Muslim. So they don't have to partake, but all other children have Islamiyat as a part of their curriculum. We try to bring it as much as we can into project-based learning. Like right now, I was telling you about the 5th grade project, and they decided to do the War of Independence. Through that, they're doing how Islam came into the subcontinent, and which is again part of their strands. So they're learning about the caliphs, and they're learning, and you know, the way we tell them is when they practice their surahs, that imagine that this is the language that they were speaking back when your country was not even created. So we do find connections, project connections in that as well. As you can see, religion is right there. Not every subject, not every project has to have every part of every subject. There are some things that don't force it. If there are some things that are not part of the project, like I said before, don't make it into a theme and force it upon them. Just teach that to them separately. It is okay to teach that separately. But in this way, the retention is just incredible, and that's what we want at the end, right? We want the retention. When we say how do we assess by asking them questions, and they know this a year down the line, 2 years down the line. That's what brings a smile to those parents' faces as well. So, now that would be in a perfect world. No, they don't. We have our challenges. We do. And we're working towards them. Some people think, and you know, this is part of your discussion group tomorrow. Some people think, and I don't know if you've read the content, but I said, is TNS for everybody? And I didn't mean TNS, I meant this way of thinking, because some parents think that they're ready to take their children to this level, but actually they're not. I get comments like, you know, his cousin gets this much homework and he got an A. What should I tell my in-laws? What did my son get? Yeah, and you're like, I have lots of answers to that one, but I keep my mouth shut. But you know, you just say, let's give them the evidence of the work. But those are challenges that you have to face in any school. Not everybody is going to be happy at all times, you know. There are going to be people, and that is why what we do is, we do have a parent-teacher organization where the parents get together, because if those feelings fester inside you, they become this huge ball. So instead of the snowball theory, we nip it in the bud, and we try to. I head the PTO, so I talk to the parents and I try to get them to understand that they've picked this for a reason, and when they see their children, they kind of understand. We don't have exams, we have assessments, and when we have assessments, that you would ask me what the difference is between assessments and exams. Basically, Tom White said this to me the other day, and I think I'm going to steal his words. When he said this, he said that, I think I wrote it somewhere here. He said, what was it? He said exams are testing the curriculum, whereas assessments are assessing your skills, the teaching skills. What am I not teaching the child? Yeah. And yes, so to answer your question, if you're asking me if they have a preset paper that they sit and write, as the grades go up, yes they do. But it's not end of year and it's not middle of the year, it could be at any time. The best part is that IB is completely in line with our theory, because IB is also has a project which is a central theme of their curriculum. So it does taper off a bit, but it's about 50-50 by that time. And so actually if you go to the IBO website, they ask children, the Reggio one, they say that a good complement to Reggio is IB. So we will continue inshallah till 12th grade. I'll reverse that question. Will the teachers be able to cope with those children? Yes, they will force them to ask the difficult questions, and that's what we were saying today, right? Somebody has to do it. Can they cope? They can cope. It's about how the faculty will cope with them. And like I said, change is not easy. Our students have not gotten to that stage, so I can't say anything to you about that. We're going to keep our fingers crossed, and inshallah they will, because I know it works everywhere else in the world. Why not Pakistan? You know, it works. My husband took IB courses in Bahrain back in the 90s. So, and it's been going on all over the world. It's not something new. It's since the 70s. IB has been around, and Reggio even way, before that. So yes, absolutely, it can. They will. So look, she's saying if we can watch Indian movies and dance to Indian songs, why can't we just be friends? These are pertinent, important questions coming from a 5th grader, because she was not understanding the hostility as it says up there. They discussed the sports. This is what she said: terrorism, fear, that's what might come to a person's mind when they think about or even hear the word Pakistan. Is this the kind of Pakistan Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah built for us? One with no sign of peace at all. Is this what Islam teaches us, to be violent and not humble? No, not at all. And the speech of this video when she was giving this is in this as well. But on a more positive note, she said we still have hope for Pakistan. There is still hope. People still have time to change and save the country. Send a message to everyone you know, save this country. And within the portfolios that the parents are given, when they double click on this video, they can hear their daughter doing public speaking. It says over there, double click. This is where they were in the project. ICT is a huge part of TNS. The children do a lot of research work. This is them going to the radio station, which was FM 89, and they presented their work. And at the end, there's reflections. So the children said it was incredibly rewarding to see the look on Sar's face when we reached our final destination, the studio. All of our hard work was about to pay off. We are about to take part in the final product of our 45-day project. So this is where they ended up. The students were in action here. And then if you click on the video, you can see their interview as well. And now this too then goes into their project details. So you have language. You have the speaking and the listening. But do you see how much extra work this is for the teacher? She has to constantly be documenting, constantly be writing when the children are talking. And we have, there's not enough time to discuss all those things today, but there are different ways of observing as well. We do post-it notes. We do, so this is a little bit of her work. This was, Bag Muldoon was part of their, the literature, the book that they were doing. Again, you can click on this and she's talking about her hero. These are some of the books. Matilda, everybody knows Matilda. They covered that. And about TNS. This is very interesting, MI. Are any one of you familiar with the MI series? You are? Yeah, so we use MI at TNS. MI is it's a math investigator series. What it is every child gets a logbook, and every child gets a case book, and this MI, who is like from the James Bond movie, comes on to the screen and she gives you a clue, but it's a mathematical clue, and then children have to go back to their logbooks, try to make the connections of those clues and solve them. And through this they learn all kinds of, this is a very actually tough thing to do, but when they finish a case, because they're all agents, so when they finish a case, it's super interesting for them. This was the case of the talent show. And so you see, this is how in MI annual charity, which you can read this. M asks children to advertise in newspapers, get tickets printed, work out the number of tickets that they should sell, keep a check on ticket sales, order refreshments and equipment, and make a seating plan. While they had to do this, these are all the objectives that they hit during it. So Again to the and I love the way they're posing. They're totally posing in this. This is not a natural picture. But as you can see, again, to the naked eye, this might seem like a lot of play. Because none of our, when I walk around the school, I say if the classroom is pin drop silence, I'm scared. Because then I look at the teacher and I say, what have you done to them? You know, why are they sitting there mute and not talking, and why they're not excited? So our rooms are very buzzing to the traditional eye. It takes a little while to get used to that. This was the case of the wedding crashers. These are all the things that they did during that. Are you guys interested, or should I move on? Should I move on? Okay. Sahar's work, Sahar as an agent, social studies, Islamiyat and science is all there. Ancient civilizations they were learning about, struggle for independence. We do a lot of visual organizers. Do you guys use visual organizers in your classrooms? It's a great tool for learning. Please look it up when you do have time. Again, we don't have time today to go through all of that, but do look at visual organizers. There are Venn charts, there are the fish diagrams, there's all kinds, not this one, but all kinds of other visual organizers. So this was really disgusting, but they brought a frog, and I'd rather skip this part. Now we do have a science lab, and we have a state-of-the-art library. This is some of the Urdu work. We do have French and games. We add all of those. Here are her achievement assessments. So parents do get a little bit of the concrete work. This is not entirely for her. This will not grade her, or this will not put her anywhere, but the parents will know what she did or didn't do. We will know how to get her from 69 to 100. That's the only reason why we do these tests, is for the purposes of differentiation. This is just a snapshot where the calculator was allowed and where it was not allowed, how she did. Mental maths, general science, and G. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. These are not exams at the end of the year. These we compile them throughout the school year. So it could be it could be 5 tests in a row, or it could be placed out into months. It doesn't have to be. It's just when we want to see and assess whether they've reached that. So there are, you have midterms and end of. We don't have those. And that is why IB. Yes, Sahar. I think yours is a 2-part answer. So first, by the time the children make it to 6th grade, everything is prescribed by the IB. But like I said, IB has projects that the children choose, so it's still emergent. They just give us areas of interaction, is what it's called, community, social work, different areas that we can pick or try to create a project out of that. But before that, yes, it's one teacher, except for Urdu and Islamiyat. If the teacher is not capable of doing that, we do. And sometimes we have to look at the contact hours that a teacher has with the children. So to give her a break, French is not taught by her, and Urdu, Islamiyat, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, math, English, science, geography, everything is taught by one teacher. And only because they are so integrated that you can't have separate teachers. It would be just a royal mess if you had a science teacher coming into the project when there's science, because there's so much stuff that is emergent. When you're standing there, some child might actually just talking about Pakistan, start going into a completely different field, and you have to then pick up on those things. And just the same way, speaking and listening and writing does not necessarily just have to end at English. You can assess that through other subject areas as well.
And what are the problems you yourself have faced while selecting the faculty or while the faculty who are teaching, who learning? Your own experience. There must have been.
Yeah. Okay. So we don't get teachers out of special hat. I don't pull out rabbits out of a hat. We don't. We have the same pool of teachers that everybody has. We have to select. We do have criteria, like you said. You have to. And it's an interesting thing to talk about because it's a double-edged sword for us. People who come to us with too much experience, it's very difficult to unlearn what you've learned. And a lot of people say, well, I have 15 years of experience at XYZ school, and I know that this has to be taught this way. Whereas the newer teacher then lacks the experience. So we do have a criteria where we have specific questions that we ask the teachers, which gives us an insight into their personalities. And I'll revert to what I said in the beginning. It has got to be a mindset. And if we feel a teacher with even 20 years of experience is still saying that I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to discard all of my, the learning techniques or teaching techniques, the ones that she needs. So she's the best judge of her own, work. We train teachers accordingly. For IB, we are getting them IB trained online courses. But other than that, it is there's a lot of training. I prescribe half of my day is spent role modeling in classrooms. I go from room to room for at least one period a day to role play because we don't have time built in for how teachers. I just lost 5 teachers to marriage. I'm going to start. So they got married, so I lost them. So right now in the middle of November, I have to train new teachers. But I don't have time, and neither do they, because we have such a full schedule to take time out. So it's on-the-job learning where I go in, I role play. Other than that, the beginning of the year, in summer, and then in winter, we have a 2-week training session, both times. And then during the course of the year, I try to get in at least one training session every 2 weeks. And those training sessions are planned so that as soon as I train them on a particular subject, immediately I ask for results in 2 weeks because I need to see how tangible my training was. So it could be something as simple as your display boards, how you should do your display boards, and then in 2 weeks I go back for an assessment to see how that worked. And if I think that my training did not work, I'll do something again on that, try to make it work so that I get through to the teachers. And of course, we're always looking for trainers to come in and help us as well. We will need subject specialists as we go higher up in grades. Right now, to give you an example, our 6 and 7 grade teachers, they split it. So what they've done is, there's 2 teachers and they've split their subjects. Because like I said, it's easier to do it going into IB because it is a little bit prescribed what you need to do. So one teacher does the English and ICT and geography, the other does the history, Islamiyat, and so on and so forth. So as we go higher, absolutely, we will need subject teachers because the technical